The Polyend play made me do this.
Freebie.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat. Today's patron shoutout goes to David Higgins. Thank you so very much for the support. Let's get started. So in front of me, I have a Polyend play. Full disclosure, Polyend did give me this Polyend play. My Polyend rep, Mitch, actually sent me home from Knobcon with it. So shout out to Mitch, shout out to Polyend. They did not pay me or anything like that. He didn't even tell me to make a video. However, I do make YouTube content for a living, so I am going to make a video on it. I'm actually skipping a lot of what the Polyend play does in this video. It can be a standalone kind of sample-based groovebox arranger songwriting tool / live jamming thing. I don't know, I'll probably get into it more in another video, but you also might get a good amount of what it can do just from this video. You see, today I'm using it exclusively as a MIDI controller. Now, the Polyend play does give you 8 tracks of sample playback, but it also gives you, in addition to those, 8 tracks of MIDI playback. Again, that's what we're going to use today. Now, admittedly, I had a hell of a time getting all of this set up because I do not enjoy running cables everywhere, plugging in a whole bunch of gear. I filmed a few different clips just as I was setting up to give you my thoughts, so here are those right now. Okay, so I've currently got MIDI going out of the Polyend play into the Microfreak, and that's working. Now I'm trying to get MIDI coming out of the Microfreak into the in here on the drum root, and then from there we'll go out of that into the NTS1. Trying to get all this set up is not really my idea of a fun time. Okay, so I've got the Microfreak going. That's fine. I've got the drum root impact going, as you can see. It's being triggered there by the play. However, I cannot get the NTS1 to go. It's on channel 1. I've got this track right here on channel 1, and it just won't go on the NTS1. So I'm not sure what's going on. I just fired up the MIDI Control Center software on the computer for the drum root impact, and there's nothing about MIDI through there. So I'm not sure why it's not going. Okay, so it turns out the drum root impact does not have MIDI through. So that's silly. So basically, I'm not trying to use the NTS1 as a synth anymore. It's simply effects for the Microfreak. So I brought a new synth into the picture, though, something that does support MIDI through, the Roland J6, just using it as a monophonic kind of ARPy thing right now. I'm sure you'll see in the, once we switch back to the main video here in a second. So now we've got Polyend play going into the Microfreak MIDI, then MIDI from the Microfreak going into the J6, and then that finally going and ending with the drum root impact. I wish it had MIDI through. That would have made this a lot easier, but no. So yeah, this is the setup right now. Without a proper space to route cables and things like that, kind of a nightmare. I know it's not as bad as some of the things I've seen people do out there, but for me, someone who doesn't enjoy plugging a lot of things in and spending more time working on setting up the gear than I do playing it, not the best experience. However, that has nothing to do with the Polyend play itself. Let's get into the play right now. As you can see, I've got a pattern going already. That was just to test and make sure things were working, so let's just go to a new pattern on the play here, where we do get a lot, however many pads there are, probably, 128? I don't know. I'm too lazy to count. And each track can also have 16 different variations within a pattern, so there's tons of sequencing space in here. Patterns can be 64 steps long. However, what I want to do right now is set up some MIDI CCs, because as you can see, we have a whole bunch of knobs here on top. Well, some of them are used for things like chants or randomize, which will apply to both the internal samples you can use and MIDI. Some of them, like reverb send, overdrive, filter cutoff, those of course control the internal samples, but they can be assigned to MIDI CCs for controlling external gear. I know I've got the Microfreak right now on channel 2, so the sample knob in MIDI mode is actually going to control which MIDI channel I'm using. So I'm going to pick jack channel 2, jack meaning the MIDI out here. Let's go ahead and just sequence some eighth notes here. These should all be C. You can set your scales here. We're set to C minor. Cool. Yeah. I can select the whole row. Drop down. There we go. Cool. Perfect. Now, I would love to, like I said, assign some CC. So over on the computer, let's see, I've got the implementation chart for the Microfreak. Looks like CC number 23 is going to be the filter cutoff. So if I go into the menu, I can go to MIDI, I can go to CC mapping, jack channel 2. So each of the channels can have their own MIDI mapping, which is really cool. Now we can assign which of the knobs we want to correspond to which CC. So we're going to go cutoff because I'm going to assign it to the filter cutoff on the Microfreak, which I said was 23. Assign that. Let's hit play. Nothing. I also realized that's not working because the J6 is on MIDI channel 2. The Microfreak is on MIDI channel 9. So I can just go right back here and set it to 9. There we go. Now, if we go back here and go to 9 and set cutoff to 23, that should work. So that's my bad there. There we go. Set it to a low pass. Yeah. And these are all editable per step, which is super cool. I can also live record. Let's do that. Live replay. Here we go. Yeah, nice. Now I can go into chants, and we can actually tell this to play random notes. And it's going to stay on our scale. We can set a percentage. So 40% of the time, play a random note. Play with the filter cut up there too. Yeah, cool. So that's really as easy as it gets, you know, in terms of assigning things. It's all laid out very simply here. I really, really like that. Let's assign one more thing here. Let's go to the wave knob, which is CC10. So the wave knob on the Freak over here. I think that's just off camera. Let's go ahead and set that to the sample attack knob here. So we'll set that to 10. There we go for channel 9. Cool. Yeah, there we go. And again, fully automatable. This is where the power of the play really comes in, because there's also randomize here. So we can randomize if your synth supports velocity, which the Microfreak does. We can randomize the velocity. Which is nice. You can randomize the octave. You can go 2 octaves. And we can also randomize the filter CC, which in this case is our cutoff. So that's really cool. On randomize, you can click save to save it. I'm not actually digging that much, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But there are lots of randomized features, as you've seen there. Nice. Okay, let's get the drum root impact going, and then we'll assign some CCs as we go there. So to do that, we're going to go first select our jack. This is on drum root impacts on channel 10. I'm just going to throw down a 4 on the floor here, and I'm going to make these notes C2, which I know, or C3. That's where the kick drum is. There we go. Nice. Now, how the play works is that it's not, you get 8 tracks, but they're not locked into any channel or note. So each step can have a different channel or note on it. Now, I want the snare drum on a different track here on the Polyend play. I do want it on 2 and 4. So while the MIDI channel per these steps needs to be the same, I want the note to be different. I believe the snare drum is on, that should be C sharp. So we go note. There we go. Except because we're locked in on that scale, it's going to go straight to D to quantize it there. So let's actually turn scale off. turn off the scale filter. There we go. Now we have our snare drum playing. You can see it there. And copying and pasting is as easy as just doing that. Yeah, see? Now it triggers this one because of how the scale quantize, the scale filtering works. That's kind of interesting, actually. There we go. Cool. Now, I'm not sure if the drum root impact supports MIDI CC. Let's set the cutoff knob on jack 10, on channel 10, which is what the Microfreak set to. Let's set that to 36. And just see what happens. Okay, we're controlling the wrong channel here. There we go. No, CC36 is not doing anything, so... Whoa. Ah! I accidentally just bumped the track length knob, which set the kick drum track to 15 steps, which, yes, that is another way we can get crazy with this. We can set different track lengths. We'll get into that once we get the J6 going. Let's do that right now, shall we? So, if I remember, this is on channel 2. Yeah, we messed up earlier and we found that out. Really quick, actually, let's get some hi-hats going. So I'm just going to plug in some hi-hats here. And at C3. There we go. I'll put a step right here too at the end, and we will go into chance, and we will give this step a 40% chance to play. Oh, it actually triggered as a kick drum. Interesting. There we go. Huh. I'm still learning how the play kind of works, you know, in terms of actual operation. There we go. Nice. Unfortunately, the drum root impact doesn't really support velocity. You just have basically low and then accent, and that's really it. So that's kind of a bummer, but we could do velocity per step and all kinds of stuff. You've got a ton of parameters here to use, as you might expect. Okay, so a new row here, the J6, and I just remembered I can actually set the jack channel with nothing selected and then input on that step there. So we are now on jack channel 2. Should be where we are. We can actually... There we go, get a little bit of a preview. And as of the latest firmware update, as of the filming of this video on the play, I can hold this down. Whoops, I can select a track, hold this down, and now I have a piano roll. So, just gonna punch in some random stuff here. I wish I could hear it. There might be a way. I haven't really discovered that yet. Okay, I'm gonna end it right here, one step from the end of our pattern. That's because I'm gonna set the track length. Oh, I can't do it from the screen. So 15, there we go. There we go. I'm going to set it 70% chance to play a random note. Those are quantized to our scale. We could do some randomization here. One of my first complaints I've noticed with the Polyend play, my nitpicks, is that you can't have double chance conditions from what I've found. So I can't have like 70% chance to trigger a random note, 60% chance to trigger the step, which I wish I could, or to, you know, play the step. I wish I could have multiples of these. You can do that with the randomize because you click save every time you randomize something you enjoy, but you can't do it with the chance knob, and I wish you could. I might be missing something, but I haven't found it so far. Okay, so I couldn't actually find any MIDI implementation information for the filter on the J6, or really any of the controls. Granted, I'm still very much new to all of this, but on like the Microfreak, it's very well laid out. It's just right there. So, you know, that's on me for picking two instruments here in the J6 and the drum root impact that didn't take full advantage of MIDI CCs. But you can get the idea. It's all assignable on the Polyend play, well, my favorite part of this thing is the sequencer anyway, so let's get into that. Let's have some fun with our patterns here. So let's change play mode on the J6 here. We have forward. This is reverse. You can see the J6 is this track right here going backwards, but there's so many more. There's first steps, which I'm not exactly sure what it does, but you can see there. Go. Gonna drop out the Microfreak for a bit, just by muting its MIDI track. You can see there's a whole bunch of different play types here. You can select the Microfreak and set it to Club Lab, sure. Ooh, I like that. We can even set the track length to 14, which sounds like it does affect the play mode too. Not exactly sure why it goes quiet there, but that's okay. Interesting. Huh. Still learning. Now, right there, I just instinctively tried to go like ga, but that's not quite how the play works. So we can actually mute and solo from here. You have to have your channel selected first. So there's our kicks, ga, and that's where copying and pasting comes in. So let's go ahead. There we go. So a kick and a snare. Okay, so if I want more kicks, I can simply copy this one. So, ga, just like this. There we go. So you can see how things start to get complex and, more complicated rhythmically, which I think is the play's real strength. Again, you can do this all with onboard samples. It has an audio out. I skipped right to this because this seemed more exciting for me, which is really interesting. I'm typically not a fan of this kind of thing, and I really doubt anyone's going to make it this far in the video because this is just literally me exploring a side of electronic music that I hardly ever touch and don't enjoy. However, having a permanent setup like this with the play as the master totally makes sense to me, especially if you were to combine it with the onboard samples. There's like performance mode and stuff like that. That really doesn't work with just MIDI tracks, but it does work quite well with the onboard samples. Let's play around a bit more though here. Maybe we'll use the fill function. So let's grab... Yeah, let's take out our hi-hat track, which was this one here, I think, right? Oh, you can actually see we've got some of the J6 on here too. So, yeah, on this note here, it's set to, or this step, it's set to jack channel 2, which is the J6. This one's set to 10, which is the impact. So let's remove those. Let's just select this whole row, shift and delete. Okay, now let's make sure that we're set to jack channel 10. And for note, I believe I want, there we go, G. Okay, I'm going to select this whole row here. I'm going to go fill. Okay, now for fill, we've got beats, kick, snare, hi-hat, chords, and bass. These typically use the folders of samples you have on your play, and they fill in kind kind of like preset beats and stuff like that. You can see, well, here's like bass, and there's a whole bunch of different presets there, and you can use them as starting places, and then, randomize off of that or just expand off of that. Very helpful to get going quickly, especially if you don't have a ton of music experience. However, the last three here are interesting. You have Euclidean, and then you can select your number of events. You have random with your density control, and you have random plus, which is like these preset rhythms, and some of them have pitches incorporated too. So we can go sweet 16ths, fill. There we go. One thing that's really nice is you can just tap the top of the knobs on the play to switch to that parameter. There is a setting that lets you toggle between the top and the bottom by double tapping, but I found it to be kind of buggy, so I turned that off. Glad that you can do that. There's also repeat type here. And remember, these are all programmable per step, too. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. Oh, the NTS one turned off. There we go. Yeah. I love that kind of like stuttery triplet feel on the hi-hat there, thanks to the repeat type. Yeah, that's sick. Let's fill it again, though. Fill. So it also incorporated the open hat. You can't see that. So that is clearly something to do with the random plus and the preset we used. That means if we, instead of random plus, just go to random and select density, we can click fill, and it should just all be those notes there. Yeah. Okay, but that's not as much fun as picking a random preset. Yeah, that's cool. Just change back down to jack 9, play with our filter. Maybe. Micro Freak is on jack 9, right? Yeah. Weird. So as you can see, I still have a lot to learn, and with so many different moving pieces here, there's a lot that can go wrong. But the Polyend play itself is a very inspiring sequencer. I may not have showcased it well in here. This is kind of in keeping what I do with this channel, where I don't only just show you once I've figured gear out, but I also like to show my learning experience with it and, keep myself human and show you all that, these super highly produced videos are very rarely the case for all of us, and are a lot of times fabricated for your enjoyment. This is more the experience for a lot of us to what making music, especially in a format that you're new to. Of course, in my case, with a whole bunch of different gear, I much prefer a single groovebox type approach. But I like to show what that actually looks like. So while we didn't do anything groundbreaking here on the Polyend play, I felt that this was an important topic for me to cover in my own journey, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. So there you go. The Polyend Play is a very compelling argument for me to set up multiple pieces of gear that I know well and know work together. So for instance, the Microfreak I think pairs very well with the Polyend Play, given all the CCs and all that you can do on the Microfreak. Not sure if I can say the same about the Drum Brute Impact or the Roland J6. I just used them because, well, they were right here, and for the most part, they're fairly simple. I didn't realize that the Drum Brute Impact did not have MIDI through, and I didn't know that neither of them really worked with CCs that much. I might be wrong about that. I'm sure someone will correct me if I am. But yeah, I could definitely see myself using like the Korg Volca drum instead of the Impact next time. And who knows? Maybe it's time for another like dedicated lead or bass synth. So then the Microfreak can take over ARP duties and chords and things like that. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities here with the Play, and this makes me want to have a permanent setup more than ever. So I know this video is kind of all over the place, just me exploring the Play, talking about, setting up different gear with it. But if you did make it to this point, I sincerely appreciate it. Really, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on it. If not, you can always leave a dislike. That's okay too. Doesn't hurt my feelings, just makes me try that much harder next time. Either way, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Thank you again all so very much for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.